the dean said, "Chidi, why do you want to be a doctor?" I said, "Well, because I want to cure people." And he looked at me over his glasses and said, "We don't cure people, we treat people. You don't get rid of the disease." And that is the difference between what I did then and what I do now.
Welcome to It Is Written Canada. Thank you for joining us. I am so excited to be sitting with Dr. Chidi. Apart from all of his qualifications, studying through Cambridge University, doing cardiothoracic surgery there, and University of College London, and also being at Johns Hopkins University, he charted his own course going into lifestyle medicine and is now a world-renowned doctor who has achieved so much in lifestyle medicine. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Dr. Chidi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So one of the things that I saw when I was looking up your story is that you grew up, or at least you were part of the foster care system in London. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, it was quite well known in those days when my parents were from Nigeria. They study and they're professionals. And because they're traveling around a lot, they would put children into private foster care, which is, they're actually quite nice homes usually. And so I spent from about 6 months to 6 years in and out of that foster care system. Now, those parents, those foster parents were quite nice people. It was a nice experience for me as a kid. I had a great time. I was always out on the street playing, blah, blah, blah. But then you didn't really have that love, warmth, and connection that children should have at that stage. But looking back, God sorts everything out in his own way.
So what did that do for you, as you could see maybe in your emotional life, your relationship life, and how did that strengthen you?
I think it's this thing, because you were on your own quite a lot, so there's a lot of self-care going on. And in that self-care, so when you fall over and graze your knee, rather than have somebody put their arms around you and rub your knee, you have to deal with it yourself. Now that sounds like something that's positive, but actually as you're developing and growing into a man and you're having relationships, then you find that you're very much isolating yourself, self-isolating. I don't need anybody else's help, I'll do it all myself. And that just doesn't allow people to come in and be part of that loving, nurturing relationship that we all need. And then you start to ask yourself, so why am I always on my own then? And that is the reason. It's not other people, it's actually me. And that took a lot for me to realize myself later on in life. But gratefully, with a little bit of self-introspection and prayer, I've come to realize what's going on. I'm not 100% cured, but I'm a work in progress.
When you were young, what sparked you onto this course of becoming a doctor?
Well, that's the big question. I was raised in an Adventist home. Both parents, lovely Adventist people. I used to go to church from a child. But there was something that would kind of irk me, and that is I would keep hearing about this woman, Ellen White. And it was not in great terms either. It would be Ellen White said this, Ellen White said that. And I'm a young kid, 6, 7, 8. And I'm thinking, well, who is this woman? Everybody knows about her. I said, well, let me read one of her books. Before I reject her completely, let me read one of her books. I picked up The Ministry of Healing. I started reading it. It was about 10 years old. And I said, well, this is interesting. In fact, this is fascinating. Is this true? I wanted to figure out, is it true? Then I'd hear about this gentleman, Dr. Kellogg. Wow, he's doing some great work, dealing with all these famous people all over the world. I said, that's something I'd like to be involved in, especially doing some kind of health business. How am I going to do a health business? Well, the best thing to do is to probably be a doctor first. That's when the spark was started. And from that time, I can honestly say, a day never went by without me thinking about how am I going to get into medical school, how am I going to be a doctor. In fact, it became a bit of an obsession for me. But that was the spark that got me in. Thank the Lord, I got into medical school. But when I was then training, rather than going along the lines of Dr. Kellogg, all my friends wanted to be surgeons. I said, I want to be a surgeon. I'm better than them. I should be. I tried to be a surgeon too. I trained to be a surgeon, got out of medical school, had the privilege of training a little bit at Johns Hopkins under Ben Carson. And then I got myself onto this beautiful program, which was the Cambridge Surgical Rotation. And that's just the pinnacle of surgery in Great Britain. Something I missed out is that when I was at medical school, I set up some restaurants, healthy plant-based restaurants. So there I was training to be a surgeon whilst having these plant-based restaurants. They were called Plant. And at the same time, I was getting messages from the restaurant saying, hey, Dr. Chidi, this person is leaving messages saying that they don't need as much medication since they've been coming to your restaurant. And at the same time, I was thinking, well, I was doing all this surgery. I'm doing more work in the restaurant than I am as a surgeon. My father passed away at the same time from complications of diabetes. And just everything seemed to come together to say, hey, Chidi, surgery is great. People need it. But people need to prevent and reverse disease. And you need to find out how you can do it. And that's what then sparked my interest. I saw Dr. Dean Ornish in America, who helped Bill Clinton with his heart disease. I learned a lot from him. I went out to the States, learned a lot from him, came back and said, okay, I can reverse heart disease. What about diabetes? What about autoimmune diseases? What can we do about cancer? And that just exploded my repertoire. I started this thing in Britain called lifestyle medicine. People were doing it in America, other Adventists, American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I started working with them. I then started to collaborate with doctors around Europe, and we started the European Society of Lifestyle Medicine.
So let me get this right. You didn't go and study lifestyle medicine. I mean, now you can study lifestyle medicine at a university. You could do a doctorate in lifestyle medicine.
Absolutely.
You had to forge the path yourself.
Yeah, it didn't exist. I mean, there was no pathway. We were making it up as we went along. It was very much like the prophet Elijah. I felt like I was on my own. I'm just forging this path. But then God gave me these other individuals all around the world who were doing similar things, who were being led by the same God. So then I assisted with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I set up the European Society of Lifestyle Medicine, and we recruited doctors to just incorporate this thing called lifestyle into medicine. But there was no program that we had to follow at the time.
So you said you made it up as you went along, but there was research there. It wasn't like you were making it up. You were delving into that research.
And that was the wonderful thing. There were wonderful scientists doing the hard work of research and coming up with all this data that we as medics were never using. So what I did, I believed, I took a lot of that research and just incorporated it into the patients in front of me. You tried some things, certain things didn't work, certain things did work, but that gave you that pathway of lifestyle repair.
How is what you're doing now different from how you were trained in medical school?
What a wonderful question. That question takes me back to my very first day in medical school. The dean said, Chidi, why do you want to be a doctor? I said, well, because I want to cure people. And he looked at me over his glasses and said, we don't cure people, we treat people. And that is really the pathway of medicine. We treat people. We don't want you to die, so we put you on this medication, you give you this operation to keep you going, but still in the disease state. You don't get rid of the disease. And that is the difference between what I did then and what I do now. What I do now is a little bit more than lifestyle medicine. I'm only now interested in curing people. If you have a lifestyle disease, I want to reverse it completely to get rid of the disease and get rid of the medication. We were never taught that in medical school. I don't think they're still teaching that in medical school, but that it must be the future for medicine.
You did a documentary called The End of Medicine, and that explored some of this.
Yes, that's right. It really focused much on antibiotics and antibiotic resistance. I spent some time training as a GP, a general practitioner, family doctor, as you say over here. And one of the things you have to be trained for is when the patient comes in and says, "Doctor, I've got a sore throat, I need antibiotics," right? Because we know that giving people antibiotics unnecessarily is not good for them and is not good for society, because those bugs can learn how to get around the antibiotics, and then when you need the antibiotics, they're not useful. And so what we learned is that a lot of the problem of the antibiotic resistance is because of how much antibiotics we put into cattle. You know, 2/3 of our antibiotics are used in cattle rather than in humans. This is becoming a ticking time bomb for a time when there will be total global antibiotic resistance. What we didn't go on to is something that I'm more interested in is, well, there are natural ways to have antibiotics. There are natural therapies out there that can overcome bacteria in the body. But we didn't deal with that. But it was an interesting show to do.
This is fascinating. So you're now seeing through your restaurants, to begin with, how people's lifestyle is being affected.
That's right. That's right. I mean, the first time I got that message, I was going into surgery and I just got a text on my phone. "Oh, this person needs to speak to you because they're almost off their medication and they haven't done anything but come to your restaurant 3 times a week." I said, "Is this true? Is it really true?" That night I went down, spoke to the individual. Absolutely true. He's diabetic, doesn't need so much medication. And that just made me think, hey, this is more powerful even than the surgery that we're doing. And so I had to then make that decision. Am I going to stay in surgery and do what I'm doing, or am I going to make that leap? And I made that leap.
You have to be courageous. You're going to make a bold move. But also some of the things that you are saying are almost attacking, in a sense, or being perceived as attacking the medical world. That's absolutely true. I mean, those 2 points are true. When you say you needed to be bold, it took me quite a while to make the decision. In fact, I had a lot of therapy with a lovely Austrian therapist who got me to the place where I could say, yeah, I can leave all of this behind and really venture out into something that nobody's doing. It took me a lot of time. But also, your point is well made. There's a lot of people who are not interested in you doing what you're doing. You curing people, not treating people. Even when I first started talking about things like dairy products, and I would always get these companies who were sugar manufacturers, dairy manufacturers, who were after me. "Oh, don't listen to this quack." And then when I said you could reverse diabetes 25 years ago, "He's a quack, you can't do this." But when they started to see the results, and even doctors were saying, yes, this was my patient who was a diabetic and who's now no longer on any medication, okay, then interest started to be piqued. And in fact, I found that the controversy helped me. I went up to a place in north of England and I was doing a talk on reversing diabetes. They put it in the local newspaper and loads of people wrote into that newspaper saying, hey, this guy it can't be true, it's not true. The newspaper called me up and said, are you sure you're gonna? I said, yes, I am. They wrote another piece so it gave me more publicity. And we went to a meeting that usually has 10 to 12 people. That day had over 300 because of the publicity. And those 300 people heard about how to reverse type 2 diabetes. So I always say to people, don't be afraid of the opposition. You know, the opposition is the thing that may be elevating you. You know, kites can only fly when they're against the wind. So don't worry about that. And every little step gives you more courage and confidence. You're going forward with this. Now you're getting media attention. And now, I mean, regularly you're on, Good Morning Britain.
Yes.
You are featured. How is that going?
It's going all right. Now, they have their sponsors, so they're a bit cautious too. I don't do as much as I used to do, I must say. You know, we've been through a period of COVID and lots of difficulties have come up as well. But nonetheless, that has given me legitimacy wherever I go now. So when I go into a church environment or when we're trying to evangelize to places anywhere in the world, when they see that you've worked with the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Amazon, that's more legitimate than even my qualifications to the people that I'm talking to. So it has served its purpose for me.
And then recently, the Oxford debate, that was a big one.
Yeah, that was wonderful. It was a great privilege, actually. I used to watch those Oxford debates with delight. All the great presidents, prime ministers, business people, leaders have been to that one table in the Oxford Union. And I was invited, 2023, that was the 200th year anniversary of the Oxford debate. And we were debating about, should the world go plant-based, really? And I was speaking from a health point of view. There was somebody speaking about a moral point of view, and somebody speaking about from a planetary point of view. We had much opposition, much spirited opposition. There was a lady called Johns Hopkins who's obviously quite spirited and quite comical. But it was such an experience just to be there and to be challenged by the student with wonderful questions. But I think the reason why we won the debate was because we had substance. People realized that, hey, this is great for our health. This is great morally for people to do. And I will never forget that experience, not least of which because it was freezing cold. It was like we were out in the middle of winter, but it felt like we were out in the open. It was freezing cold, but it was a great experience.
Let's go back to some of the controversies that you got into. So you are now recommending that if you go on this, you can get over diabetes.
Yes.
You can beat heart disease. You used to be doing cardiothoracic surgery where you would open up a person's chest.
Yes.
And now, instead of just doing one person at a time, you're actually bringing a message of healing to so many that are desperate.
Yes, and it's so important. And that is the big point, reaching many people at the same time. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm really telling people to eat more fruits, vegetables, get out in the sunlight, drink more. Nobody's making money out of this. But this is the way that we come to a healing process. Those simple things that God has given us that we've kind of ignored are the things that can heal us.
Why do we resist it?
I think there are many reasons. One of them is that sometimes it appears too simple. No way, Chidi. Look at all this laser therapy, surgery, blah, blah. You're telling me just to eat differently. It's a bit like Naaman, the leper. If we told you to do something complicated, you would have done it. But dipping in the water, it's very much like that. And especially amongst my doctor colleagues. But, we've been trained with all this. How could we just tell people to eat this? And then there's a lot of opposition. And there's a lot of paid opposition to your message. So when you go onto a TV show telling people about the truth, even if you have the evidence before you, immediately there'll be people, industry saying, no, this can't be true because A, B, and C. So it's quite clear that there is a process that people want to keep people contained in this system rather than being freed. And all I want to do is free people from this system and from disease. That's all we're trying to do.
And it really is freedom. Tell me about Sir Isaac Newton as a scientist and how that really impacts what you believe.
Yeah, I think Isaac Newton, I would probably suggest, was one of the greatest scientists of all time. Not just because he was British, and not just because he went to Cambridge, by the way. But he came up with the ideas about many things, including the motion of the stars and the planets. And one of his laws states that a body at rest wants to stay at rest, and a body in motion wants to stay at motion. Now, he's talking about planetary bodies, but it's related to our bodies too. We all know this. If you like to sit down a lot and watch TV, that's what you're going to want to do. If you then get over that inertia and start to move, you'll want to keep on moving. And so that's the thing to actually give people that hook into a healthy lifestyle. Yes, I know it seems difficult to begin with, this inertia, which is what Isaac Newton came up with. The initial push is difficult. Once you get started, you keep going. I say this all the time. Our bodies are obviously fearfully and wonderfully made, very complicated, but they can be fooled quite easily. And what I mean by that is whatever you give your body, it wants more of. If you give it loads of pizza, it will want more pizza. If you give it loads of TV, it will want more TV. Conversely, If you give it a bit of exercise, it will want more exercise. Give it more greens, it will want more greens. So it's just getting into that habit. You might think now, but I like my chocolate biscuits. But once you get over that hill, you'll be in a path that you will not be saying, oh, the greens are terrible all of your life. They will start to taste better. You will want more of it. Your body wants more of what you give it.
I know from listening to you that you used to have an addiction to sugar.
Yes.
You were that body that was at rest, and
Absolutely.
You were enjoying that lifestyle. Absolutely. But now you are a runner, you are an active person, you're careful with your diet. Tell us what that looks like. What's a day for Dr. Chidi look like?
That's a good one. So my day starts usually at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would spend a good half an hour just in prayer, reading the Bible, getting myself together. I would then spend a good 2 to 3 hours writing, whatever I'm doing, a book or a project or whatever. And then I would start my work day. I may start to consult with people or speak on TV or whatever it may be. I haven't talked about breakfast yet, right?
Yes.
And I deliberately, because I rarely have breakfast. I of the position where I eat one meal a day, usually. If I do have 2 meals a day, it would be a late breakfast and an early evening meal. And that's just how I've been. Now, what do I eat? If I do have breakfast, it's never the cereal, like Dr. Carroll tried to give us. I would eat a normal meal. I would eat a salad or a light meal like that. My evening meal, well, what would it consist of? Something like whole grain rice. My wife does some fantastic rice and peas. She does everything with a lovely Caribbean flair. And then a tomato-based stew with onions and garlic and beans and then a lot of greens on the side. That's it. Rounded off with a lovely fruit salad, and that fruit salad is mainly berries and mango. That's kind of my favorite. If you're talking about my favorite dessert, berries and mango.
And your activity, what does that look like?
So I would do 2 hours of exercise most days. That would be a 5K run, which would take me about half an hour. I would then do a walking session, which is about an hour. And then I would do another half an hour in the gym. And then later in the day, I'd do another walk with my wife.
And you also work at a stand-up desk.
Absolutely.
How is that good for you?
Wonderful. What people don't realize is that standing burns so many calories. That's one of the beauties of it. It burns enough calories that if you stand for 6 hours a day, you would consume the same amount of calories as if you did a marathon every other week. Fantastic, just by standing. Okay, no gym membership required. But not just the calories, the muscles that it is activating. Now, in the beginning, I remember when I first got the desk, I was tired. At the end of the day, my body felt tired. Again, the more you give it, the more you are able to adapt. After a week, I was fine. In fact, I found it difficult now to sit down and do any work. Life generates movement, and movement generates life. If you're living, we need to be moving.
Dr. Chidi, I'm so amazed by how much you have accomplished, and with such joy that you serve others and lead them in a path of healing. Tell us about that for you. How do you do so much and accomplish so much?
That's very kind of you to say so. First of all, I think God has given all of us a path and a gift and whatever he wants us to do. I'm grateful that he allowed me to see my purpose in life. But on the other side, I feel that I'm not doing enough. At the end of the day, that's what I always feel. I'm not reaching my full potential. I feel sometimes like God has given me 10 talents and I'm giving him back 2. That's how I feel. But with what I've got, I'm trying to keep going. Now, that means I really want to get this message to more people. Why should anybody be suffering with these lifestyle diseases, which can lead them not only to a freedom of living, but also lead them to an understanding of who God is? So with that in mind, I have developed these books now, Reversing Disease and Restoring Health, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all of them. So they're coming out. And I'm working on an interesting project, which is a Life Colours app. And that, God willing, will help people along the path to restoration and healing. And in that app, they can not just get physical, but emotional and even spiritual healing. So that's where we're going with that.
Any final thoughts before we close?
Well, I mean, the big thing is that I'm so grateful to God for really sticking with me. You know, you say that I've achieved a lot. I've achieved a lot despite myself. You know, I've made my own errors and mistakes. And the things I would say to people is, look, even when you make those mistakes, God uses them for a greater purpose. Rather than beat yourself up, we talk a little bit about forgiveness. Forgive yourself too. Forgive yourself too. Allow yourself to release yourself from the stress and the fear that the enemy wants us to be captured in, and start living that path of freedom.
Dr. Chidi, thank you so very much for sharing with us such a wealth of information, inspiration. I wonder if you could pray for our guests, those who are watching. Someone may be thinking, hey, I need that. I need to apply this, and I need to see that transformation and healing in my life. I wonder if you could pray for them right now.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we're just so grateful to you for who you are. We praise you because you're above all things. You know all things. Lord, even in this conversation, we know that there are people listening who need this help. They need this help of healing, of health, and of hope. Lord, let your Holy Spirit reach them. Touch their hearts, touch their minds, touch their bodies. And may they take that step forward, that they may listen to you, receive from you, and go beyond even the health of their body, but to understand who you really are. Because that, Lord, is the ultimate. We ask this all and only in the name of Jesus, who died for our sins. Amen.
Friend, I want to assure you, you are not stuck. Your story is definitely not over. With God's help and with the kind of practical lifestyle changes you've heard today, your future can be very different from the past. But knowing the facts does not necessarily mean we will change. So if you're aiming for a joyful, balanced life, we would like to support you on your journey physically and spiritually with our free offer, 10 choices for a full life. Thank you to everyone who has supported It Is Written Canada through your prayers and financial gifts. Also, if you have been inspired by what Dr. Chidi shared with us today, please share it with your friends and family. In order to keep this ministry on the air, we truly need your support. You can make a donation on our website, or you can additionally follow us and share our content on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also listen to our podcasts. If you want the kind of hope and healing that only Jesus can bring, we encourage you to open the Bible daily, where you will find that Jesus himself defeated the devil with these words. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Your restaurants also had some famous guests.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one was Paul McCartney of the Beatles. He was there. Madonna used to pop in. Oasis, those people who know Oasis, they used to be there all the time. A modeling agency opened next door to us. And those models, they loved the healthy plant-based food, kept them slim, kept them looking good. And where the models came, everybody else followed. And that was a big boom for us.